welcome back. I'm the Crown Clown, and this is What If Deku Was the Son of Zeus? Part 3 or 4. Well, whichever. And anyway, where we last left off, Deku was coming back down to Japan from Olympus with Poseidon and Zeus when tragedy struck. Zeus, who said he had a few weeks at most, at the least, and a month at the most, died seconds after that. And Deku can't believe it. His father died right before his eyes. His uncle, his only comfort. Not even that is much comfort to him. So, we pick up right where we left off. Zeus, dead now. Deku's kind of broken. He's confused. He doesn't know what to do. Poseidon holds him as they descend from Olympus, holding his nephew. He's comforting him as he remembers the promise he made to Zeus, that when Zeus died, Poseidon would raise Deku as his own son. And Poseidon meant that. He tells Deku that he will always be there for him, no matter what. And that he'll help Deku grow into be his father's son. And Deku's just looking at him and the tears just falling down his face. They get home. Inko opens the door and she sees Deku and Poseidon. She's like, "Where's your father?" And the tears start falling again. And she looks at Poseidon, and even Poseidon's crying. He lost his brother, the last family he had, the last brother that fought with him tooth and nail for centuries, the one that saved him from his father's bowels, the one who forged Olympus, the one who reigned prosperity and peace among the land, the one who ended the gods' war amongst themselves, and the man who saved his life more times than he could ever count, Zeus. And he looks at Inko and he tells her, Zeus is dead. He died right in front of our eyes, faded away to nothingness. But he died with a smile on his face. And he was so proud of his son. And Inko, she's just like tearing up, and she hugs Deku so tight. And she just embraces him, and Poseidon holds them both as they mourn the passing of Zeus. Meanwhile, over with Athena and Apollo, the night has set. And as the night sets, they can feel something out there. A voice calling to them, one they have not heard in many centuries. They thought her dead. That was their mistake. And Athena looks at Merida and she's like, "You need to run now." And Merida's like, "Why? What's wrong?" She says, "Someone is coming. Someone more powerful than Zeus ever was. Probably the only person Zeus was ever afraid of." And Merida's like, "What?" She's like, "That's impossible. Zeus was the most powerful god there ever was. Who could he be afraid of?" And that's when a pale, white-skinned woman with hair darker than the night, in a gown as black as space itself, and a dark mist following her, speaks. "He was scared of me. And for good reason. After all, you gods don't have nothing on a primordial god like me." She says, "I created the night. My parent, Chaos, created me as he created the entire universe. My children were there to maintain the balance. But you gods, you arrogant gods, not only did you kill Gaia, Kronos, Atlas, but even that wasn't enough. You had to slay all of my children. Thanatos, Morbius, Charon, the Fates, all of them dead by Zeus's hand. And by your hands. And by Poseidon's as well. Aphrodite, the whore, selling them out. But she's been taken care of." As she holds up the severed head of Aphrodite. "You gods think you are so unkillable now that the rest of them are dead. Oh, you are mistaken. I will kill you two now, and then I will torture Poseidon, as he is the last god alive. I will spare no one you care about, including that impudent human behind you. She will die right before your eyes. After all, if I was able to rob Zeus of all his remaining time, killing a mortal is nothing." And just as she says that, Merida gets slashed in half. Her torso and head detached, her upper and lower body completely separated, the blood splattering, hitting Athena's face, drenching her white toga in blood, the red hair falling to the ground. And the rage Athena feels. She wields her spear as she tries to thrust it straight through the woman's body. But it doesn't help. Nothing does. Athena misses. And then a hand goes straight through the back and out of through Athena's chest, grasping her still beating heart and dropping it as it hits the floor and dies. So does Athena. Apollo, scared for his life, but mesmerized by the woman's beauty. She is far more beautiful than Aphrodite, the spitting image of beauty in his mind. And yet she's more powerful than Zeus ever was. It seems like nothing can hurt her. Nothing at all. A primordial goddess. How can anyone even think about killing her? And he's like, am I going to die? She takes him by the hand and it's like, you don't have to. All you have to do is one little favor for me, and I'll let you live. And Apollo's like, anything, name it. And she says, kill Inko Midoriya. Put an arrow straight through her head in front of Poseidon and her son, Izuku Midoriya. And Apollo's eyes grow wide, but he realizes it's either he kills her and takes his chances with Poseidon and Deku, or he dies by this beautiful woman's hand. And he sees what she's already done to Aphrodite and Athena. He agrees to do it. She says, excellent. After all, the underworld needs a new dog to guard it. Anyway, so we cut back to Deku. And Deku's there with Poseidon and Inko at the funeral for Zeus. It's just a small one. It's just the three of them. But Deku also has the entrance exam to take. And so, after the funeral's done, he heads straight there. The funeral was done way early in the morning, so Deku could get his grieving out and attend the entrance exam. Poseidon said it would help him cope through the exam and he wouldn't be depressed otherwise. And it would help keep him busy and his mind not on his father. And Inko, she agrees and she's like, yeah, that's true. So, her and Poseidon, they become really close, and it has been a year now since they've started dating. And unknown to Deku, Poseidon did visit Inko every night. So they've been seeing each other for a solid year now. And while Deku's gone, Poseidon does propose. And Inko does say yes. And so they'll wait until it's either confirmed that Deku is, going into UA or not before they tell him. But they do start planning for the wedding. And Deku, he gets there. But he's not really seeing anyone or anything. His eyes are on the sky. The dark clouds that are covering the air. It's not even Deku's doing this time. They're just there. It's like, even the skies know their god is dead. He's gone. That there's no one else to claim them. They are empty, and it starts to rain. Not hard, but lightly. Deku, he enters, and all he's hearing is the rain. Even though Bakugo's right there yelling at him, Deku doesn't hear him. He doesn't even see him. He doesn't even see anybody. He sits all the way in the back, and a seat all the way to the left, out of everyone's sight. So he thinks. But really, Ida's watching him, and Ida can tell, like, something's wrong with that guy. Bakugo just gave up because he even tried putting his hands, but Deku just walked right past him. Like, Bakugo couldn't even, grab him and shake him. And he notices, like, Deku's got a lot more mass on him now. He's toned completely. And everyone's looking at Deku just for his muscle definition alone, but also because of that long white hair of his. Because Deku didn't even put his hair up today. It's down. And it goes past his shoulders a little bit. But all Deku's doing is listening to the sound of the rain hitting the metal roof of the building. He hears it. Drip, drip, drip. The light tapping of the metal roof. Just every drop hitting. His eyes start to see more as he hears the big-mouthed President Mike speaking about the exam. Deku is handed the paper. He easily aces the test, even though his mind's distracted. He's just thinking about his father. The 10 months he spent with him on Olympus. The time him and his father would yell at each other. The time he spent joking with his father. The time they spent bathing, training, laughing, crying, eating, and sleeping. His brothers that he found out about. His only brother left, Apollo. His sisters, Athena and Aphrodite. The first woman he ever loved, Merida. The woman who took his virginity and was the best love partner he ever had. The only one he ever had. His uncle, who's always been there for him ever since he found him, who stayed with him for those 2 months and then helped him train for all of those 10 months, who bandaged him and showed him how to tend to his own wounds, who taught him more about tactics and self-control than he ever would have learned from anyone else. The man who turned him into a man, his uncle and his father. But really, he's just thinking about his father. He misses him. He didn't know him for very long, but still, he loved his father dearly. As Zeus really broke down and was honest with him, told him everything, his history, even showed it to him, told him about his regrets, about how he felt during those times. Everything. How he was overconfident and arrogant as a youth. Just everything. He just misses his father. And that's when he hears somebody yelling at him. He looks, and it's Ida saying, "Hey, are you even paying attention?" He's explaining the next part of the exam. And Deku just not in the mood. So he glares up his eyes, and the electricity, the lightning, starts flickering in his eyes. The storm gets even stronger. Lightning and thunder can be heard now and seen. And Ida realizes he just picked on the one guy you don't want to fuck with. And Prison Mike's like, hey, no powers, no powers. And Deku's just like, fine. His eyes go back to normal. The storm goes back to normal. And President Mike's just like, that was a bit too weird. But Ida is deadly scared of Deku now. And Bakugo was watching. And he's just like, the fuck? Deku walks out and goes to the gate, waiting for it to open. Bakugo walks up to Deku, and he can tell there's something off with him. As Bakugo is his friend, he walks up to Deku. He says, hey, you're not like your normal self. What's wrong? Something had to have happened. And Deku just looks at Bakugo. And he tells him, my dad died. I just buried him today. And Bakugo can see the pain in Deku's face. And Bakugo's just like, forget the fucking test. Like, I know those guys, they finally admitted that they lied about you. I'm sorry for the trouble I caused you. And for your family, especially during that time. He can just see the tears that Deku's having while he's looking up at the sky. Bakugo just hugs his friend. He says, hey, do your best. Let's at least make it into UA. Deku's just like, yeah. But let's still see who does better. After all, we're friends, right? And Bakugo says, yeah, we're friends. And everybody else starts coming out a little bit later. Because as soon as Deku left, like he left early, like he already knew what was going to happen. And Bakugo just sort of rushed out there after him. And, you know, Ida finally gets out there and he's just like, you guys know how rude. And Bakugo tells him, shut the fuck up. You even know how harder you're making this on him? And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? And Bakugo's just like, he's going through some personal shit right now, man. And you clearly ain't even making it better for him. Like, unfortunate circumstances really are, like, in play right now. He's not even in the right headspace to be doing this, but there ain't no redos or reschedules. He's got to come here now to get in. And you just start running your mouth like you know everything? Dude, shut the fuck up. You're being inconsiderate of other people. You don't know what they go through. And Deku turns around to Ida and he tells him, "You ever get in my face again, I'll make sure you know what pain is." And Ida kind of backs off because he's not really wanting to fight with Deku and Bakugo. And the reason why Bakugo is so defensive is because his friend's dad just died. Like, come on, man. Bakugo's known Deku ever since he was, like, in elementary school. And sure, they started off rocky. In middle school, they were, neutral. But towards the end, they did become pretty solid until that incident happened. And people did lie just because they thought Deku wasn't showing Bakugo respect or anything. But truth is, like, Deku and Bakugo, they really just didn't even need to show respect to each other. Like, they were just like, man, fuck you, fuck you. But they were still cool. It was that type of friendship that they had, but still. Bakugo's not really wanting to fuck around today after hearing what Deku told him. And the gates open. Uraraka is staying away from Deku because, she didn't have to save him or anything, and they never bumped into each other, so she just knows Deku's a pretty scary looking guy from the way the storm reacted when he started using his quirk. So Uraraka is kind of hanging back. But anyway, the gates open. They start. Deku's just walking calmly. And as soon as the robots start, Deku just sprints. Like, he just straight up dashes over there and he punches one, and it's completely torn apart. Deku's not in the mood to hold back today. And Deku's actually using the winds to levitate him up into the sky. And with his lightning, he is throwing thunderbolt after thunderbolt, raining it down lightning onto every single robot he sees. And the teachers are seeing this and they're just like, what in the hell? It's almost like he's a god with that power. And they're like, well, he's obviously not a god. But Deku, his eyes are flashing and he's just pissed. And every time he uses his power, he thinks of his dad. He's emotional. His head is spinning. He's sad. He's angry. He's confused. He's alone. He feels the abandonment of it. He feels the anger of him not having more time with his dad. He feels the sadness of losing his dad, and he feels the regret of not telling his dad that he loved him enough. All of that's culminating into his powers, and it's just destroying everything around. And Deku's not holding anything back. So when every time he strikes a robot, he leaves a crater in its wake. And they send out the zero pointer, but before it can even get anywhere near, Deku destroys it with a lightning bolt. One so massive and strong, it doesn't just leave a crater in the ground, it shakes the entire ground to its core. The buildings are shaking, the cracks are forming in the buildings, they're losing their stability. And Deku left a giant hole in the ground. Everyone looks at him just like, what the fuck? All of the teachers are just shook at how strong this dude is. And Deku goes down to the ground. His eyes return to normal. Bakugo walks up to him and he's like, "You fucking went overboard, man. But you did look damn good while doing it." And Deku's just like, "Told you I'd win." And he's just like, "Yeah." Ida is just like, "The fuck did I just see?" But Bakugo is just like, "But you do realize none of us really got a chance to do anything, right? Besides you." The teachers come out and they say, "Well, everyone besides this guy right here will have to come back in about a month for a retest of this part, which means school start date will be delayed by a month until we can figure out the classes. So I hope not convenient to inconvenience everybody, but I'm sorry." But he tells Deku, like, "You automatically pass. Like, here is your acceptance right now. Like, we'll notify you when school starts, but you are in." And Deku's like, "Alright, cool." And he just walks off. He knows he could fly, but he's wanting to walk to try and clear his head. Bakugo walks up to him and he's like, "Hey, be safe on your way home, and just know I'm here for you." And he's just like, "Thanks." And he walks off. And as he's walking off, he sees someone that he didn't expect to see. Apollo. And Apollo walks up and he's like, "Hey, man." And Deku's like, "Hey, bro, what's up?" He's like, "Man, you're taking Zeus's death hard, aren't you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I am. It's hard, man. You guys got to know him for so long. You guys had him for centuries. I didn't. I had him for fucking 10 months. For 10 months and a week. That's all I had. I didn't get to know him as a dad. I didn't get to know him as a person. Not fully. I would love to have had the time you guys did with him. But I don't. I don't have it. I can't get it back. His soul can't be returned. Hades is dead. No one's guarding the underworld, but the souls aren't coming back. Because Hades is dead. Thanatos is dead. Hell, I bet even Charon's dead, right? And he's like, "Yeah. Yeah, the war was bloody. There's no way anyone's coming back from the underworld now. If you die, it's permanent." Deku just can't help it. He's angry and sad. And he feels abandoned. And Apollo's seeing this and he doesn't want to do what he's been asked to. He doesn't want to break Deku's soul. He doesn't want to destroy him. And he tells Deku that he's sorry, but things are probably only going to get harder for him from here on. And Deku's like, why is that? And he tells him, Aphrodite, Athena, and Merida are all dead. They've been killed. And Deku's eyes grow wide, and he just feels his heart break even more. The times he spent with Aphrodite in the bath, in her chambers, learning about women, flirting with them, how to use his body to satisfy with those women, just having fun. All the times Athena would tutor him, train his mind, teach him everything he'd need to know, and being a great big sister to him. And then his heart breaks completely when he's thinking back about all the times him and Merida would make love to each other. How tender her kisses were, the softness of her body, and the passion when they had sex, and how kind she was to him. Just everything like that. He can't even begin to imagine why it's happening. But it is, and he's lost. It's broken. He's just can't hold it. He can't hold back the tears anymore. And he can't contain his powers anymore. He's angry. So angry and sad. He can barely control himself. And at home, Poseidon, he sees the storm going haywire, and he rushes out to find Deku. Inko's home alone. And Apollo's trying to calm Deku down, but Deku's not wanting to hear it. He's not wanting to hear anything. He's breaking his powers, he's breaking everything. The storm is raging. The water is pouring down as hard as it's ever done. Lightning striking things at random. The thunder cracking through the sky. Deku demanding to know who did it. Who took his family from him. And why is this happening? The anger in his voice. The tears running down his face. He's pissed. He can't control anything anymore. And the whole world knows it. Everywhere, not just in Japan, but everywhere is storming like this. Lightning going out of control, striking every place in the world. The Eiffel Tower destroyed by a lightning strike. United States being devastated by lightning blows, causing several forest fires. Brazil, India, Korea's everywhere just being demolished by lightning. People losing their lives in the tragic events. Deku has lost all control. And Poseidon yells to him, "You have to calm down. You need to stop this. Now. Your actions are going to get people killed." He's like, think about what they would want for you. Think what Zeus would want for you. Not this. Not this. Deku regains his composure and he drops down, crying. Poseidon embraces him and he tells him, I know about the others. Apollo told me everything. I'm sorry, son. I'm sorry. And he holds his son. He holds his adopted son, his nephew. Apollo. He can't do it. He can't keep good on the deal. So he goes to Poseidon and he's like, you didn't leave Inko alone, did you? And he's like, I did. What's going to happen? What do you know? And Apollo tells him, a primordial god with hair as black as the sky, clothes blacker than space, and a dark mist follow her, while her pale white skin, her dark purple eyes, the rage she had in her voice, how she held Aphrodite's head, slaughtered Merida, and ripped out Athena's heart. She called herself a primordial god of the night, daughter of chaos, mother of Thanatos, of the fates, of Charon, and of Morbius. Poseidon's just like, you mean Nyx? Nyx is here? She hasn't been heard from thousands of years, way longer than that. And Apollo says, yeah, Nyx stole the rest of Zeus's life, leading him to die after he got done talking. She severed Aphrodite's head, all of it. She offered me a deal that I would be spared if I killed Inko in front of you and Izuku. I told her I'd take it, but I can't go through with it. Not like this. Poseidon grabs Apollo by the neck. He's like, you even considered it. To side with that woman who would have just killed you anyway. You would bring this upon us. And Apollo, gasping for air, trying to speak while Poseidon is having his hands on his throat, gripping it, crushing the insides bit by bit. He says, you need to check on Inko now. And Poseidon drops him and he's like, you'd better be gone by the time I get back here. And you better hope she's alive. Because if I see you again, you're dead. But if she's dead, I swear to you, there will be no place you can hide. Nowhere that I won't look. And I will rip your spine from your body and feed your soul and body to the depths of the oceans. And Apollo is scared because he can tell Poseidon is getting mad. The water is starting to swirl around them. And Deku tells him, we don't have time for this. Let's go. Poseidon runs. Deku flies back as fast as he can to see a tragedy has struck again. Inko's corpse crucified to the front door of her own home. Police officers there, crime scene. Deku goes down into an alleyway and runs over there asking, what happened? What happened to my mother? And the police are just like, I'm sorry, but your mother's been murdered. We don't know by who. There's nothing to go on. No evidence of any kind. Whoever did this was a professional. And at that time, Poseidon makes it back and he sees Inko crucified and on her finger shining the golden ring that he gave her when he proposed. But he sees it stained with her own blood. Her lifeless body hanging there. The pool of blood on the doorstep, running down into the grass and across the sidewalk. And Poseidon breaks down right beside Deku, holding each other, trying to comfort them the best way they can. And Poseidon, he's made up his mind. He is going to kill Apollo and Nyx, no matter the cost. And Deku, he wants in on it. He wants to avenge his family from being slaughtered. And Apollo, not heeding Poseidon's advice, comes up upon the house, seeing the scene, and he shakes with fear of what's about to happen. And he runs for his life, faster than he's ever gone before. The police clean up the body. They clean up the scene. And they ask the man what his relationship is to Deku. He says his uncle. That he'll take him in. And they accept that, and Poseidon is beside himself with rage and sadness. He tells Deku, pretty soon Poseidon will be the only god left in all of Olympus. And Deku's like, what does that mean for me? He says, you're a demigod, my boy. You're fine. As for Apollo, he's not. And Poseidon sets out, but before he can even leave the house, the object of his and Deku's anger appears. Nyx in the flesh. And as she enters, she's like, "So, can we have a civil conversation, Poseidon? Or do I need to kill the boy?" Deku's eyes flash with lightning. The skies roar and with the crackle of lightning and the thunderous rage of the thunder. And she's like, "Oh, please. Do you guys not know who I am or what I am capable of?" Poseidon's like, "All I see is my family's killer." And she says, "Oh, what a surprise. That's what I see as well." And she's like, "Fine. If you guys are so curious about the time, I'll just stop everything." With the snap of her fingers, the world stops spinning. Poseidon's just like, "I see you haven't lost any of your power, Nyx." And Deku's like, "What just happened?" Poseidon says, "The world stops spinning." And she tells them, "That's exactly right. It won't start spinning again until I allow it. Which means you guys can be stuck in an infinite night in my domain for eons." And Deku asks her, "Why would you even do this?" And she's just like, "Easy. Because I want to. Because if y'all don't hear me out, I don't restart the Earth's rotation." And Poseidon says, "Fine. I'll hear what you have to say." Deku sits down, but his eyes don't stop sparking. And she asks him, "Won't you please turn off your powers?" And Deku tells her, as long as she has hers going, he's gonna have his. And she's like, "Fair enough." So she says, "Honestly, I didn't want to kill you all. Well, not you two particularly. But Aphrodite, Athena, they were people I had to kill. Aphrodite for using my sons, and Athena for daring to boast that she knew more than the fates. And Athena is also responsible for slaughtering them. So she had to be made a complete and total example of. For this new demigod of yours, Zeus's bastard son." And Deku's barely holding his shit back. Like, he is wanting to end her right here and right now. And Poseidon's the only reason why he's not. Poseidon's like, "Why did you kill his mother?" And Nyx tells him, "To even the score, Poseidon." And he's like, "What do you mean, even the score?" And And he says, you already took Zeus's remaining lifespan away. You killed his father, the person of your vendetta as you see. So why go further? Why cause him any more pain and grief? And she's like, to be honest, I just felt like it. Not really a reason. When you're as powerful as me, you can do things like that. You don't require a reason. And if anyone starts mouthing off to you, turn the whole world into your hostage. After all, Zeus was scared of me for a good reason. But he did kill Thanatos. Something unforgivable. My favorite son, murdered. And Poseidon says, if it wasn't for Hera's betrayal and Hades' plot, they would still be alive today. And Nick says, yes, that is true. Hades and Hera were the main responsible ones. But Zeus still pulled the trigger. He was the gun. He killed them. And he's like, didn't you think about how Zeus suffered? How my brother has suffered from you. His son suffers from you. I am suffering from you. What amusement do you bring from this? And she's like, none. It's just satisfaction. Satisfaction at knowing I'm on top. Knowing that I'm the one who you have to look out for. Knowing that I am the one who will torture y'all for the rest of eternity. Unless one of you sacrifices your life right here and now. Sacrifice your life to me, and I will forever leave the other one alone. I will even allow for you to meet your loved ones in the next life. But the one who sacrifices his life must die from the hands of the one he loves most. Poseidon's like, you wish to torture us this badly? Deku says to Nyx, he will kill her one day for this. For all that she has committed against him, one day he will kill her. However, that is when someone else appears. Someone who is tired of his daughter's game. Chaos speaks only from the space, speaking that Nyx has gone too far this time, and that she must be punished as reprimands. And Nyx is enraged by this, and she's like, why? And Chaos says, because you were mistaken. Your love for your sons and daughters blinds you. You were unable to see the truth. That they plotted to destroy all gods, including you. Zeus stood between them and you, and a war with the gods of creation. The primordial gods would have entered the war and destroyed all of creation. Zeus single-handedly stopped that, meaning he saved your life and everyone else's from me. And Nyx asks, what would you have me do as penance then? And Chaos says, the underworld needs a new guard dog. That shall be Apollo's position. You, however, you will have to serve the underworld, sending the souls to their rightful place. No payment shall be required of them. You will be their judge, and if I sense any bias in you at all, I will erase you from existence. Do I make myself clear? And Nyx says, crystal. And Deku asks if there's a way he can restore his mother and the others whose life were lost, and Nyx is looking at him in shock as he would dare to ask Chaos this. And Chaos tells him, I cannot. If I return them, it would upset the balance. I am terribly sorry for the hardships my daughter has caused you. But no, I cannot return them to you. I am sorry. And Chaos restarts the Earth's rotation. And Nyx is pulled down into the underworld. Apollo, running still, is immediately chained and pulled down. Chaos tells Poseidon, nurture the boy well. He has shown great skill and power today. And he disappears. The night continues. Poseidon and Deku cry and mourn the loss of their family over everything that's happened. And the next days are just Deku mourning and Poseidon doing the same. But they also work out, and a few weeks pass, and Deku does hang out with Bakugo. You know, Bakugo heard about his mother and everything, so Bakugo's just trying to keep Deku distracted. He's trying to keep him busy and be there for him. And their bond is growing closer and closer together. And Bakugo just pretty much asked Deku about his training, and Deku's telling him. And Deku's like, oh, what about that girl in that story? Whatever happened with you and her? And Deku's like, well, she was my first. And Bakugo's like, whoa, you mean? Deku's like, yeah. She took my virginity. And Bakugo's just like, You literally had sex every night for 10 months straight. And he's like, yeah, pretty much. And Michael's just like, damn. And he's like, so you're going to find another girl? And Deku's like, no. I don't think I could ever bring myself to get that attached to anyone else again. After all, that girl's not even alive. Everyone who really gets attached to me ends up dying. Maybe you should... And Bakugo stops him right there. He's like, no. I'm your bro. I got you. And Deku thanks him for that. So as they're going, Deku's just like, man. And he's just really just like, okay. And he's honestly just depressed. But it comes the day for the exam for everyone else, so they're all there, but Deku's just out and about, just walking around. And he sees this girl getting bullied. And he's just like, it's not my problem, but he just can't help it because these guys are clearly like a lot older than she is. And Deku can see she's wearing a school uniform. And he's not just gonna be there to not step in. He's like, nah, this shit ain't happening. He steps up and he's just like, the fuck you guys think you're doing to this girl? And I was like, man, don't even get in our way, kid. This don't concern you. Get the fuck out of here. And Deku's just like, you didn't hear me, did you? His eyes start flashing and he's just like, get the fuck away from her. And the guys, they're just like, oh, so we got a tough guy here. Alright. And they all charge at him, and Deku's just one hand smacking them with the back of his hand, bitch slaps. Like one guy, and his almost every tooth in his mouth goes flying out. And people just like, what in the hell? And Deku's just like, I don't have time for this. Charges up his fist, and he shoots electricity, the lightning right at them, just immediately knocking them out. The girl, she sees that, and she's just like, wow, you're really strong. And Deku's just like, I guess. But how are you? Are you alright? Are you hurt? And she's like, I'm alright. And Deku's like, why were they bullying you like that? And she's just like, well, it's because of my quirk and how I act because of it. And, I'm just a girl in love. Well, trying to find love, I guess you could say. And he's like, may I know your name? And she says, my name's... don't want to tell you just yet. How about you? You gonna tell me your name, or do I have to guess it? And he's just like, I'll tell you my name. It's Izuku Midoriya. She's like, ooh, that's a nice name. I like it. And he's like, so, what is your quirk, actually? She's like, oh, if I ingest someone's blood, I can shape my body into them and use their powers. And Deku's just like, sounds interesting. And he's like, so you gonna tell me your name now, or what? And she's like, yeah, I'll tell you. It's Toga. My name's Toga. And he's just like, well, Toga, it's a pleasure meeting you. And he's looking at the time. He asks her, "Have you eaten yet?" And she's like, "No, not particularly." He says, "You want to get something to eat?" "My treat." And she's like, "Free food? Sure. Let's go." She's like, "But is this a date?" And he's just like, "If you want to think of it as a date, knock yourself out." She's like, "Okay, we're totally dating now." And Deku's just like, "No, we're not dating." And Doug is like, "Well, that took a dark turn." And Deku's like, "I don't even want to hear about dark turns or anything like that." She's like, "Okay. Something happened?" Deku's like, "None of your business. You want to eat or not?" And she's like, "Yeah, I want to eat." And he's like, "Then shut up about the personal questions." She's just like, "Ooh, you're a total dom, aren't you?" And he's just like, "God, this is the first time I've ever considered killing a mortal." And, they get to this burger place. Deku orders his and Toga's food. And Toga's just kind of obsessed with Deku. She's, staring him up and down, giving him the look, and he can tell from that look she's undressing him with her eyes. And Deku's like, "Look, if you want to know what I look like naked, all you have to do is just ask. I'm not shy about showing off my body." And he's like, "But you'd have to show me yours." And Toga's like, "Ooh, okay, I can do that." And Deku's like, "So, do you want to go to your place or my place to do that?" And she's like, "We can go to yours." Deku's like, "Alright, fine." And Toga's like, "But I do have one condition." And Deku's like, "What is it?" And she tells him, "You have to give me some of your blood." And Deku's thinking about it. He's like, "How long can you use someone's abilities for?" And she's like, maybe about like an hour or so. And Deku's just like, "Alright, fine." And Toga's excited about this, and she's just like, "Yes, yes, 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 yes." And Deku's like, "But I have a condition as well." And Toga's like, "What is it? You want some of my blood?" And Deku's like, "No, I want you to satisfy me." And she's like, "What do you mean?" Deku's like, "I want you to suck my dick." And Toga's like, "Okay." So they get done eating. They head back to Deku's place. Poseidon sees Toga entering with Deku, and he doesn't say anything. He just tells Deku don't go popping out any kids. He doesn't want any great nieces or great nephews. And Deku's just like, "Yeah, I know, Unc." Poseidon tells him he's heading out. He's gonna go to the gym and work out. Deku's like, "I don't think they have enough weight for you, Uncle." And Poseidon says, "Well, it's better than just sitting here about to listen to you fucker or something." And Deku's like, "Well, I appreciate the privacy." And he shuts his door. And, as soon as he turns around, Toga's already naked. And she's like, "Well, I'm waiting." Deku, he takes off his shirt, takes off his pants, and Toga's just like, "Wow. Okay, you're definitely well built. That's actually kind of crazy." She starts rubbing on Deku's body, and, Deku kind of just takes control of the situation. And, okay, so breaking the story real quick, this is where we're about to have an 18 plus scene. So if you guys don't want to, just click off the video now. this is your one and only warning. So, yeah, those of you that stick around, let's get into it. Deku literally just smacks his cock right on Toga's face, and she's just like, ooh. And, Deku's just like, I'm pretty well experienced. And she's just like, oh, really? It's my first time. And Deku's like, yeah, well, you talk too much. Shut up and suck it. He puts it in her mouth, and, he holds her head there and just pushes her head forward and back, forward and back. And every time he goes forward, he pushes it deeper into her mouth. And Toga is literally just overwhelmed at this point, but Deku pulls it all the way out of her mouth. She gasps for air, and Deku's just like, geez, you weren't kidding. This really is your first time. She's like, I told you. And Deku's like, don't use your mouth to talk. Use it to suck. Breathe out your nose. And he just keeps doing that to her face. And, Deku's like, alright, your mouth just ain't cutting it. I'm gonna need your pussy. And Toga's just like, well, you want to take my womanhood right now? And, Deku's like, yeah, it's the worst that could happen. She's like, I could get pregnant. But Toga's actually kind of crazy. And she's like, you know what? Actually, let's do it. And Deku's like, hold on, crazy bitch. I'm using a condom. And he pulls out a condom, and, Toga's just like, what about my blood? And Deku's like, yeah, you'll get your blood in a minute. She's like, well, actually, instead of your blood, I want your cum. And Deku's just like, huh? She's like, yep, no condom. Either that or give me double the amount of blood. And Deku's just like, fuck. Still immortal. Still could die from blood loss. Still have that effect. He's like, fuck it. So Deku's not using a condom. He puts Toga on the bed, face down, asses up, and he pushes himself in. There's blood coming out just because it's Toga's first time. So he is breaking through the skin right there. And Toga's just like, she's just like, does it always hurt this much? And Deku's just like, hey, you wanted this. And Deku tells her straight up, don't get the wrong idea. This is nothing more than a fix for me. And so Deku's like, don't worry, I'll go slow. And Toga's like, so if you're just gonna use me, then why do you care if I have a kid? And Deku's just like, if you have a kid, I'll be in your life for the kid. Nothing else. I can't do relationships right now. And Toga's like, okay, well, then I'll just be here and we can keep doing this until you can. And Deku, he's saying that while he's thrusting, and Toga's just saying that it's like, she's enjoying it because she is a masochist. And Deku's like, wait, he stops for a second. He's like, wait, you want to keep doing this until I'm ready for a relationship just to be in a relationship with me? Toga's like, yeah, it works for you, right? And plus I get your body fluids, so I'm good. Deku's just like, alright, but here, take this pill. And Toga's like, what is it? He's like, birth control. As soon as she opens up her mouth, just trying to contest, Deku just throws the pill in there, holds her mouth shut until she swallows it. So Deku's ensuring he's not having no kids. Like, he don't care if he's got to keep force feeding birth control to Toga. Like, he ain't having no kids with this crazy woman. And Deku, he's handling business like he is fucking the shit out of Toga's pussy. Toga's moaning, her eyes rolling back, her mouth open. Deku pulls out, puts his cock back in her mouth, just basically face fucking the shit out of her. He's just working out all his sexual frustration, but he knows he's got to be easy on her, not to literally break the fuck out of her, because Deku's strength is godly. And he does got the almighty Zeus dick as well, so he's literally having to hold himself back from just breaking Toga's bones. And Toga's just enjoying the fuck out of this. So Deku, he takes it out of her mouth, puts it back in her pussy, but he's holding her by her legs up in the air, just like slamming her down on it. And Toga, she's having a fucking blast. And Deku, he's finally finishing. He just cream pies the shit out of Toga's pussy. So, that's pretty much done. And, he leaves Toga lying on the bed, and Toga's like, I'm staying here tonight. In between gasps of air, and Deku's just like, the fuck? Why you say you staying here tonight? Go home. She's like, I literally can't move a muscle right now. My body is in so much pleasure and pain. And Deku's like, fuck, still overdid it. Man, you girls these days. She's just like, hey, I'm not the one who went like a madman and did like 6 different positions. And Deku's just like, that's me going easy. And she's just like, go easier. I gotta build up to that. I'm not just ready for that. And Deku's just like, whatever. He goes to take a shower. Toga just passes out as soon as he leaves the room. Deku comes back and gets in his bed with Toga. And, Toga's actually crawls over there to him and wraps her arms around him. And this is the first time Deku's ever felt the warmth of a woman like that. Like, usually, Merida, she just climax and leave every time after the first time. And she never really cuddled with him like that. Like, she kind of just slept by herself. But Toga's actually, like, showing him affection. And he's just like, well, fuck. She might actually mean this shit. Poseidon, he's back and he checks in on Deku. He sees that. He's just like, you handle business? Deku's like, yeah. And he can tell it's bothering Deku. He's like, what? It's the first time a woman showed you affection? And Deku's like, you know it is. And, Toga's out cold, so Poseidon just pulls up a chair beside Deku, and he's just like, look, your mother showed great affection. I'm not going to go into the details because that is your mother. I'm not going to talk about her like that in front of you, but your mother was the first woman I was ever with that cared for me as a person. And I was going to marry her. I would have been your father. Fully. But things change. He tells Deku to hold out his hand. Deku does, and it's the gold ring he gave Deku's mom. He gave it to Inko. Deku holds on to it. And he starts to cry, and Toga wakes up a little bit, and She's just like, you okay? I didn't take you as a crier after this. And Deku's just like, I'm not. It's just remembering my mom. She's not around. And you're the only woman I've been with that's showed me affection like this. So it's a bit overwhelming. And Toga just holds him tighter. She's like, that's alright. Like I said, I like you. And Toga's just like, in what way? Toga says, don't know yet. We'll find out soon enough. And Toga's just like, alright, sure. Like I said, I don't want none of that shit right now. But if you want to keep fucking, it's fine by me, Toga. So Toga's just like, oh, we definitely gonna keep fucking. So, yeah, next day happens, and Bakugo's calling Deku. Deku wakes up, Toga's still there. He's kind of shocked, but, she literally just still sleeping. Deku answers his phone. Bakugo's just like, yo, what you doing, man? It's like noon. And Deku's just like, man, I was sleeping. He's like, sleeping? Motherfucker, what? And, tells Bakugo, unlike some people, I still get some pussy. And Bakugo's just like, wait, you told me you had sex again last night? He's like, yeah, she's still here too. About to head it up for another round. And, Bakugo's like, yo, man, what the fuck? And he hangs up on Bakugo just like that. And Toga's still sleeping, so Deku, he's just about to lay there and think. All he can think about is how he's gonna kill Nyx. And that's where we're leaving it off for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, comment down below. It really helps me out, and it really shows that you guys are interested in this series. As always, I'm in the Crown Clown. Subscribe if you're new. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.